Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet the host of the Art and Faith podcast. She'll share her faith-based journey next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, my father and brother are both ministers, and so I like to spotlight people who are living out their faith-based journey when I can, and my next guest has really impressed me, Jayme Thompson. She is the host of the Art and Faith podcast. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's an honor to be here, Jeff. Thank you.
Absolutely. Before we get into what the show's about, tell us more about your journey.
Well, I have worked in the arts for about 25 years. I started out in the music industry, and I started out as talent. Started as a singer and a musician and a songwriter, then a music publisher, and then started building music businesses. And along the way, just experienced those things that all creatives do, that self-doubt, that need for funding, just the underlying things that make that journey challenging, a little bit lonely at times. And that background of understanding just helped me to know how I could love and support other people in the arts. And so that's what I'm trying to make the second half of my life about.
I love it. How long had this particular show been on your heart? How long had you been thinking about it?
Yeah, probably in 2020. I really began making a shift from being pretty exclusively focused on music to transitioning and realizing that skill set was portable to other areas of the arts. And so we now specifically look to serve people in film and TV, theater, social media, music, and visual art, and realized that a podcast could be a good vehicle to help make noise about people.
Sure.
And so it kind of was birthed along with that season.
Okay, we're going to show a clip in a second, but I want you to set this up. It features a producer from The Chosen. Yeah. So for those who don't know, The Chosen is just a phenomenal kind of faith-based. You were telling me right before the show, it's set all kinds of records.
Yes, it's been this incredible thing. I mean, just in and of itself, it's an amazing and beautiful project, but what it has meant for the film industry, it's really been a waymaker, a wake maker, and it's caused people to believe in investing in these kinds of projects, and it's helped to identify that there's an audience for faith-based projects that is much larger than may have been previously thought. So it was the biggest crowd-funded TV show. It is the only multi-season episodic show about the life of Christ, and it's now distributed across multiple platforms, and it's just a huge, huge international show on its way to its goal of having 1 billion viewers.
Outstanding. Okay, let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Welcome to the Art and Faith podcast. We have as our guest today, Chad Gunderson, who is part of Out of Order Studios and somebody we are really excited to talk with today. So Chad, thank you so much for being with us.
Jayme, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Chad, tell me, what is a production company? What's a producer? What do you do?
Well, the running joke has been, and unfortunately it's been a 25-year running joke, that my mom still doesn't know what I do for a living. So that is, I think, still the case. But a production company in our world, in the film, television world, is a company that does that produces things, that produces content, produces television shows, movies, And we have done a little bit of everything. I mean, not that this is something I do on the regular, but I've even produced a game show. We have produced live events. We've produced a lot of things, but our sweet spot, the place that God has definitely called us, is definitely more in the film and television world. So as a production company, that's what we do. Myself and my business partner, Chris June, we own Out of Order Studios, and then we have a handful of pretty amazing people that work along with us. As far as what a producer does, I do think it's an interesting, and it's a question I get asked quite a bit in this industry. Everybody kind of seems to know, obviously, what actors do, and they know what writers they do, and they understand what directors do, and for whatever reason, directors direct, and people know what that means. Writers write, and they know what that means. Actors act. But when you say, well, a producer produces, and then people kind of go, well, what exactly is that? The producer does everything that is there to put what is on that screen, what it takes to put all that together. And when you watch the credits of a movie or whatever, you notice hundreds and hundreds of names in the producer or producers are those responsible for putting those teams together, putting the money together, getting it out there, getting it out to the world. Yeah. And Chris and I like to say that we individually at Out of Order Studios, as producers, we like to create environments. That's what we like to do. We like to create environments for creatives, for directors, so they can shine. And not just for the director either, for everybody, because there's so many artists that work within this industry, from the art department to cinematography to hair and makeup to wardrobe to, again, the list is just long. And that's what we like to do. We like to create those environments where people can just thrive and do their best work. And that gives us a lot of joy.
I've had the opportunity to visit your film set, and I would say that you guys are pretty great at that. One of the things I notice around you is happy people. And in a creative environment, cultures where people are thriving, where people are cheering for each other, they really stand out. So I appreciate the way that you guys create that.
Jayme, you're such a natural interviewer, and I love your first question. What does a producer do? I mean, because that people don't really know. And you mentioned how happy their set was. You got a chance to actually hang out on the set for a day. What was that like?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to visit their set. Their crew, their cast, their employees there, all of that is managed by the production company. And you just feel a big difference when you step into a creative environment where there is love and care for staff members versus just a place where people are just being dealt with transactionally. And I would say I feel that here in your studio. I've enjoyed meeting your employees and interacting with them.
That's the highest praise you can give me. We've got some pictures from her day at the Chosen set, and these pictures were taken in Utah. Is that right? Mm-hmm.
Yes, their facility here is in Goshen, Utah. They shoot in a few different places. They have a permanent facility here in Texas in Midlothian, but they also use this facility. I'm not sure how many seasons. I think it's been part of all 3 seasons so far and will continue to be, but it's a beautiful and special place to visit.
And you got there, was this the end of the show, or they were wrapping?
Yes, this was the last day of season 3, and it was really incredible. During the actors and writers strike, they were given special permission to continue and to wrap up their season, and so there was a rush to finish.
Wow.
And just a lot of collaboration and excitement to get that done. This was the final day of filming season 3, and so we got to see some of that, see just the full cast and crew in action, and then also be part of observing their wrap party where just words of affirmation and encouragement and appreciation are spoken from the director to the actors and the cast and crew, and it was a beautiful day.
Okay, so you also had a wonderful nonprofit called 5 Talents Fund.
Yes.
And give us a reminder on the roots in the Bible.
Yeah, 5 Talents is kind of a play on 2 things. We serve people in 5 areas of talent, and then it is also an echo of the parable of the talents, which is a story that Jesus tells. And it's a story about a boss who gives money to employees. And one employee hides the money away and says, I've got to preserve this because you're a really hard boss. Another one does some multiplication and investment with it. The third does full investment with it and really multiplies it and exploits it in the good sense as fully as possible. And so when the master returns, he heavily criticizes the one who's hidden it, tells the second one that he did well, and then, heaps blessing on the third one. And so it just is a name for me that reinforces that we have a responsibility to use what we've been given, and not just to be a pass-through, but to serve in multiplying those things and making them go further.
And before we show this next clip, Sound of Freedom, it's a movie that also had meteoric success.
Yes.
It was never supposed to be this popular, but the churches showed up. What was your, what happened? Somebody approached you from Sound of Freedom to do a watch party?
Yes, we had a tiny role in the massive success of this film, so I certainly don't want to imply that we did more than we did, but we were very honored to be asked to host a screening in the DFW area, and so we did that. We filled a theater easily. We could have filled 2 or 3 theaters and just got to show the film. And I think it's another example of how the Christian film industry is growing and expanding, and the quality is getting so much better than it was just even a few years ago. And the success is showing that.
Okay, let's go ahead and roll that clip.
This is the reality of what's happening in the world, and these kids can't tell their own stories, and it's incumbent on us to be able to be their storytellers, to be their voices to the world.
You feel so many different emotions watching the whole movie, and then you kind of get gripped by the fact that this is a real issue that's happening around the world right now, even as we're doing this interview.
It's going to be an awakening. I pray to God it's a reality check for everybody that knows that, like, this is what's going on. As much as you want to turn your face and not see it, it's happening.
I think we all know it's been a problem, but this highlights it all the more, that we have to stand up and how we can bring awareness to this problem to help solve it.
That is so cool. Well, Jayme, your eyes light up when you talk about this. I know you're using your talents. In the couple minutes we have left, what do you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It is just a joy to walk alongside people who are doing hard things and beautiful things, and to cheer them on and to give them what support we can. And so I think I'd want to say to the audience that beautiful art takes time, it takes work, and it takes financial support. And so we're just stepping into that space to vet things, to build relationship with people. And if viewers, feel their hearts stirred in that direction to support, to get to know people, to find ways that they can be part of those stories, I'd love to connect with those people. We want to just provide those opportunities, help people find the next projects that are going to be made that need their investors and their supporters. And we have those in all areas, in film and TV, which we've talked a lot about today, but we also have people working on Broadway that we're working with. We have visual artists who are creating incredible things. Other people on social media who are having massive impact, millions of people following them and tuning into what they're doing. And that really is an art form and an expression. And what did I not say? And music, which is my background. So if there's just a desire to connect with those things, we'd love to make introductions and be part of the conversation.
Outstanding. We're going to leave with the podcast website, which is the artandfaithpodcast.com. The great Jayme Thompson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.